So the human factor. Okay, first of all, my name is Kyle Reimel. I'm the IT director for Mojave County, for those of you that don't know me. I've taught this class a few times, several times. Many of you have already taken the class from me. The real focus on this class is the human factor. And I know the Kojak committee is going to be a little bit upset at me for changing the name. I just changed the name like yesterday. So it's probably nothing like on your agenda, but I think it really fits what we're trying to accomplish. We've got the technology in place. We understand exactly how to stop these things from coming in technology-wise, right? We've got those pieces of software out there. But the real problem is the users, okay? And it's not your fault. I'm not pointing at the users, but you're our last line of defense, okay? So you see all these emails from me coming out all the time. Beware, don't click, hover before you click, you know? All those warnings. Who reads those things? I would expect the whole audience to stand up and say, yeah! Oh man, I can't wait. I got another email from Kyle. Excellent. Amazing. It's good stuff. Oh, I'm not up on the screen anymore. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how you can be aware of what we're seeing in today's world and how to prevent that from affecting our network and protecting you. That all make sense? Okay. So first of all, thank you for coming. I know, you know, when I first saw this, the list, 120-something people, thinking, geez, all right. We have got a list of employees that love cybersecurity. They just love this thing, you know? This is great, really dedicated employees. Then I started thinking, well, it's Friday afternoon. It's after Kojak, the last class. So they probably had a choice, either go to this class or go back to work. So in reality, I could be teaching how to create spaghetti, right? How to make spaghetti and I'd have the same audience, right? Would you come if I was teaching how to make spaghetti, would you? All right. There's a nod. All right. And again, I wanted to thank Stuart Bruner. Did an excellent job with these. So summary of the class, really, again, I've got 48 slides. But this is what it really boils down to. You've heard me say this over and over and over and over again. But all the talking, all the discussion, all the classes, it really boils down to this. Someone's trying to trick you into clicking on a link or opening an attachment that downloads a piece of software onto your machine that does bad things. It either compromises your machine by locking the files and asking for money, or it takes your personal information. That's it. That's really what this class boils down to, right there. Okay? So we're going to go into more detail, but again, that's really what we've got to look at. A link or an attachment. People are using these social engineering techniques that are really sophisticated. They want to try and trick us, okay? So we're going to go through some examples on how this works and what to look for, but it boils down to that. Link or attachments. I can't tell you how many times we get an email request from you folks saying, is this safe to open? Because they don't understand. They don't see if this is they don't recognize the person. But is it safe to open an email to begin with? Who says yes? Just open it. I'm getting yes, right? Yeah. It's safe to open the email. But what's it? Hold on. It's safe to open. But if you go one more click, you're in dangerous territory. It's kind of like Mexico, right? So you're walking down the street, everything's good, and you turn the corner, oh, and I got to go back, right? So that's kind of where we're at with the internet and with these emails. You've got to be very, very careful where you go. So what are we looking for in an email primarily? If it has a link or an attachment. Those two things. If it doesn't have a link or if it doesn't have an attachment, it's just text. So it's okay, okay? You don't have to do what they're saying. That could be garbage. But if it doesn't have a link or an attachment, you're okay. Does that make sense? So what are we really looking for in emails? Link and attachments. Red flags should go up, even if it's from me, or John, or Brian, or anybody from my office, or the presiding judge. If you get an email from anybody that you know and it has a link or an attachment, red flags, right? Immediately. And I'm going to show you why. Anybody coming in late has to stand in the back row and you have to sing for us. I'm just kidding. Oh, I can't wait. What song do you pick? Okay. I actually thought she was going to sing. That was cool. Okay. Today's purpose. We're going to discuss hacking and how it can impact you, explain social engineering techniques with some actual phishing emails, share some horror stories, and discuss how to protect yourself. And the sharing of horror stories, I really want you to participate. So if you've got an example that we haven't covered, let me know. Maybe it's something that we all have seen or experienced, and it could help all of us. What can be hacked, right? Should be worried, and what can we do about it? So what about your car or an airliner? Do you think they can be hacked? Oh, yes, I heard a yes, okay. Yeah, absolutely. What has an airliner ever been hacked? 2015, right? How did they do it? Anybody know? Somebody was a passenger in a jetliner. They connected to the entertainment system, the onboard Wi-Fi, and they were able to move the rudders of the airplane. Holy jeez, can you believe that? The pilot claimed that we did have an anomaly going on at that time. The hacker said, yes, we did it. They didn't actually prove it, but they were claiming this happened. And there's no evidence to go otherwise, to show otherwise. So yeah, it absolutely can. What about your refrigerator? Can it be hacked? Yes. You got a question? No question? Yeah, it can. Do we care? Why would we care if somebody knows how much mayonnaise we have? Really, I mean, think about it. Do I care if Joe Hacker's looking at the contents of my refrigerator? Yeah, I kind of do. Because what's Joe Schmo after? What's the greasy guy after at that point? He's not after money. He's not really concerned how much relish I have or mayonnaise. He's concerned about what my product choices are, right? What if you buy large quantities of beer and you store those large quantities in your refrigerator and you constantly are buying beer, so that's your habit? What if that information was given to your insurance providers? It's all about information at that point, what you're doing, okay, what your likes and dislikes. Perhaps even it's being sold to advertisement agencies, so they know what type of products, do you want me to get that for you? What type of products you buy. And then all of a sudden, bam, you start seeing, you know, what are those Fruity Pebbles stuff, right? You start seeing ads for Fruity Pebbles all the time. Right? Because the consumers or these people gaining that information, gaining that access to your private information, they're selling it. And that's what these manufacturers are using now to target you. It's all about information. I should sit closer, I can't read that. What about voice-activated appliances? Who has them? Alexis, wipe my rear. Alexis, dude. Right? So are you worried about them? Really fancy stuff, right? It's cool, innovative. You'd be surprised how many technologists back away from them. You think, wow, man, that is cool stuff, but I don't think I'm going to go there yet. But people like my mom, that is cool, let's get it. You know, she's on board. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think artificial intelligence is where we're going. That's what's building and driving all of these systems, artificial intelligence, of building a profile around you, what you do, what you say, what you order. All of that stuff, that's information. It's extremely valuable to these people. So do you think Alexis listens to you always? Of course, right? She has to, right? She has to wait to hear that Alexa do X, Y, Z. So she's constantly listening. But does she record? What do you think, John? Does she record? Yes. Could be. Brian? Yeah? I think so. Andrew, Heather, everybody, what do you think? Do you think she records? In 2000, what was the example 2008, a couple, they were having a conversation in their house. It was about wood flooring, nothing earth-shattering. That conversation was emailed to our entire contact list. And then they got phone calls back from their friends saying, hey, well, what's the conversation about? I don't care about your wood floors. They had no idea that Alexa was actually recording and sending that information out, let alone recording, but sending it out to your contacts. Okay? So it's happened. And when Amazon was when Amazon was questioned, they said, oh, it's just malfunction, don't worry about it. Just forget it. It's just a malfunction. But it happened. Is it going to continue to happen? Yeah, because data is so very valuable. That's where they want to target, right? Well, this targeting. They want to target you. They want to build a profile about you. They want to see what you buy, and they want to see how they can get your money from that purchase. They want to sell that information. If I owned a shampoo company, right, would I want to know how many millions of Americans buy X shampoo over this one? Or would they want to be able to determine, this type of lotion over that one, or whatever it may be? So information is valuable. So you can use these devices and you can not protect them and just hope for the best, or you can use these devices and educate yourself and make those small necessary changes to make sure your environment is safe. And really what it boils down to with some of those devices is just changing the default password. Okay? Read that manual. Like, nobody reads the manual. I get a manual, I tear it up. I can figure this out. I hate manuals. But sometimes you have to get it out of the trash, tape it back together, and read the manual. But what if a manufacturer figured out a way to put a commercial on television that said, Alexis, order XYZ? What would that do? Or put XYZ in your cart? Do you think Alexis could hear that and take that action? Probably so. What if I told you that Alexa can be hacked by birds chirping? What? There's a study out there that there's a hack if they played birds chirping in Alexis's presence, that it turned on listening mode and recording mode or something. I didn't completely understand the article, but that was crazy. And if they could do that through the TV set near Alexa, all that information, if it did turn on the recording, what are they going to do? It's actually proven, hackers in 2017 proved that they could eavesdrop on conversations. What's the guy that just divorced his wife, the billionaire gazillionaire? Right, he said no way. But they proved it happens, right? So you got to be careful with stuff like that. What about your smartphone? Think of all the information you have on your smartphone. Can that be hacked, compromised? How many people have an ID credential on their smartphone? Right? Everybody, please do that. It's a real quick, simple process to set a security passcode on your phone. Facial recognition, probably not the best way, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not letting you on the phone, right? That was one of my older jokes from previous classes. So I expected you to laugh more than everybody else because you haven't seen my class before. But okay, we'll deal with it. Okay, this was actually in the Kingman Daily Reminder this morning. That's pretty cool, right? Let me get the laser pointer working. Laser. Okay, oh crap. That probably should not have been recorded. Okay, so I just had to, there we go. Okay, so it's Consumer Electronics Show, and you got a couple of individuals here walking up to this booth, and it says, geez. And over here are the home electronic devices that will not spy on you. It's got the old rotary phone, the old recorder, who actually saw the video of teenagers that could not figure out the rotary phone. Isn't that something? Jeez. So I had to dig out the old rotary phone and show my son how to make a call. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't do that. I don't even have one. Okay, so we've heard all these terms before. In previous classes, we've gone through each one of these in great detail. That's where the slimy guy at Starbucks came out. But you don't really care about them, right? Who remembers what thumb drive planning is or hacktivist? Della, do you?
Of course I do.
Excellent. That's a great answer. So really, there's terms for everything, right? What we're going to be talking about today is social engineering, and we're going to be talking about forms of malware, ransomware. So get back to my first initial summary of this class. What they want to do is have you click on a link to download a piece of software, right? One piece of software that's just absolutely horrible and it keeps me up at night is something called ransomware. Who's heard of ransomware? It's, just about everybody has, right? This is awful. I can tell you, when this hit the IT world, this was scary stuff. It was scary stuff not only for me, but for every IT professional in the whole world. Who knows what ransomware does? Give me an example. Nobody? It kind of does a little bit of both, right? Hijacking is one good term, but basically what it does, it downloads a piece of software onto your machine, and it takes all your files and encrypts them, so you can't access them. It does that by the extension. So an extension of a file, for example, when you open up a Word document, it saves it as .dox, right? You guys remember DLCX, something like that, or PDF for an Adobe file. So what it does, it looks for those types of files, JPEGs or doc files or PDFs. Those are user files, not system files. They want your machine to still work. They just don't want you to have access to any of your PC, any of your files that you've created. For some people, it's okay. You say, oh man, I really wanted that picture, or I needed my budget, but I'm not going to pay this Yahoo, 1,000 Bitcoin for the key back. So screw it, I'll reformat my PC and start again. It's okay, but for businesses, hospitals, police departments, it's courts, is that okay for us to do? Can we do it? Has it been done? Absolutely. They first started targeting hospitals, which is mucho scary, right? So they hit hospitals like crazy because hospitals have to have their data. Once they hit these hospitals, they encrypted all of their information, and they required huge amounts of money to unencrypt, to get that key back. Do you think some hospitals did that? Like that they did. Did they get the key? Sometimes. Sometimes not. So even though they paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get these keys to unencrypt their data, sometimes they didn't get the keys back. Sometimes they generate the encryption so high, they don't even know what it is. They can't get the key themselves. They have no intention of it. So the point being, if you're going to pay somebody, make sure it's a reputable criminal that you're dealing with, a good guy that, just trying to make a buck. Make sure you can get your files back. So that's basically what ransomware. My team and I have gone through multiple different exercises on what we can do to prevent ransomware, even down to we've completely changed our backup strategy. We're renaming file sets. We're exporting them all over the place because does it really just affect your PC? So Amber, let's say that you get an email from the presiding judge and you click on a link inside of it, downloads ransomware. First thing that happens, you get this message saying, yep, your files have been corrupted or encrypted. And then what does it do from there? It attacks all of your shares, your network shares. So anything you have access onto the network, like probation share or anything else, PSI or whatever it may be, all of those files are now encrypted.
So I have to handwrite my resignation?
Yes, exactly. You and me both, right? Because if I can't recover from that click, then I'm looking for that resignation paper, and Judge Gertler is going to request that from me. So that's why it keeps us up at night. So we're not only backing up your files in the traditional manner, but we're copying your files over without any type of compression or anything like that, and then we're renaming the file sets. So even if the bad guys do get in, our idea is that they're not going to look for those file types to encrypt. And you don't even have access to them anyway. But we have gone through these different approaches to try and minimize the impact. It's going to take us a minimum of 2 days, depending on who it is, 2 days to recover from a major incident. Lake Havasu City. All of these IT professionals, when ransomware first came out, they were all saying, we got this, no big deal. And then they were hit. And then they were fired. And then people were brought in to recover days and days later, or they pay the ransom. It's a bad thing. Questions on ransomware? So again, how can you get ransomware on your PCs? What are the 2 things you look for in an email? Links and attachments, right? Links and attachments. If you see a link in an email, or if you see an attachment in an email, immediately, I don't care who it's from. Are they going to target, now think about this for an example. Are they going to target the person that just was hired into the courts, or are they going to target maybe the presiding judge? Are you going to be more likely to open up an email from the presiding judge or the person who was just hired for the courts? Well, Judge Gertler sends you an email, you better open it up, right? And if it's got a link and attachment in there, you're starting to sweat, and beads are forming, and things like that. You're, oh man, do I open? Do I not open? So we're going to give you some examples, and we're going to kind of run through some exercises in what to look for. Ransomware is a biggie. Okay, why money? Of course, with ransomware, they don't want your data. They just want your money. That's it. That's what it really boils down to. Okay, so that's what they're doing. $1 billion in revenue each year. Billions and billions. Who said that? That's from my old class. Everybody should know that. Who said billions and billions? Carl Sagan. Absolutely. John, I was looking right at you, man. You're the star guy. Carl Sagan. Don't you have him tattooed on your arm or something? That guy's brilliant. Okay. So how? Websites, primary email, and specifically links and attachments. We've talked about that. How do they get you to click on those links or attachments? That's the real trick. And that's called social engineering. That's what our real issue is, social engineering. These bad guys are going to either masquerade as somebody in the courts that you know and you're used to getting emails from, or they're going to try and trick you into clicking on a link. And the examples they're using in today's world is no longer this billionaire stuck in some prison, and he just needs $500 to get out and he'll give you $10 million. That's 1980 stuff, 1990 stuff, right? Has anybody ever seen that email that's going around? It's still going around. People are still clicking on it. So the guy's dead. Don't pay to get him out of prison. So 78% of people claim that I'm going to get if some type of email came in, some type of social engineering email came in, I know what to look for. But they can still get compromised. I was at a conference not too long ago, and they actually hired a hacker that was very, very successful to come give this presentation. And the whole room's full of IT professionals. And we're just giving this guy the stink eye. You just want to strangle him, right? But he said, I can guarantee you, within 100% accuracy, I can get into your organization. No question. So think about that just for a second. And think about, do we have any enemies in the courts? Everybody loves us, right? Are we a target? We're probably a little bit of a target in somebody's mind, right? All those emails we get every once in a while that threaten to blow us up and things, those guys are kind of ticked at us. Do you think they would hire this guy to compromise our network? Do you think they even need to hire a guy to compromise our network? Nope. Not in today's world, you don't. You don't even have to know how to code anything. If you can be slick enough to be able to write an email that's targeted, phishing email, right? That's a phishing email that's targeted to a specific individual that you know is going to click on that link, or you think there is a high probability, then you're in. Okay? So it's pretty concerning. Here's a quote. You can spend millions of dollars on security systems and still never be truly safe. I can't read that, damn. Should have brought my glasses. You can spend millions of dollars on security systems and still never be truly secure because every transaction in safekeeping systems has flaws, usually at the human level. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about social engineering. I've already rammed on and on and on about social engineering. Everybody have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about? Trying to trick you into clicking on a link. That's really what it's about. The key concept. It's much easier to fool someone into giving you their password than it is trying to hack in. This is no longer 1998, right? Where the real goal was to hack. Oh, the thrill of hacking. I love that stuff. Some of us even have participated in that to some degree. It's kind of exciting stuff, right? But I remember I was working for the city of Anaheim, and I was reading the paper, and the CIA was hacked, and they had a picture of Donald Duck on their front webpage over the seal. That's pretty cool, right? But we hate hackers. Okay. So, fool someone into giving you their password. That's a piece of cake. That's called social engineering. That's tricking the user. So, it's going to play on your trust. Perhaps an email from inside your organization. Can you trust every email that I send out? No. Why not? For Lynn, you said no. I was wondering who said that. No, you can't. I did last year. I sent out an email. It was kind of a fake email, and I did it intentionally to this class. Sent this email out. Here's the class materials. Click here to see all the class materials. A lot of people clicked on click here, even though if you hovered on that link, it went clearly someplace else. Okay? So a lot of people clicked on it. Some people called me and said, the first thing you said, tricky, tricky. They didn't click on it, right? So that's great. That's really the point. We want to make sure you understand that it can come from anybody. It's no longer, you remember the emails coming out years ago, make sure you trust that person before you click. That was kind of the mantra, that we all have tattooed. Make sure you know that person. That's no longer the case. If you know the person, you need to be really cautious, really careful. If you don't know the person, throw it away immediately, right? But trust demands urgent action on your accounts. Okay? My mom gets into this one. God bless her. I love her to death, but every week she no longer says, "Hi, Kyle." She just, "Listen." And I'm listening to this recording of this. Your machine's been compromised. You got to call this number. It's a recording. She gets into these. It's so bad. I have to have her 2 machines, one for her Facebook stuff and one for her banking. And I've told her that we don't have to have them. They don't have to be so far apart so they don't catch each other's viruses. But So actually, she called me yesterday. "Kyle, got a virus." Okay, so demands urgent action on your part. But God bless her, she doesn't really understand technology, but she is the first one to throw up her hand and say, whoa, this is wrong, and she'll call me. She calls me on everything, okay? But people that know about technology, they look at it and say, I don't think so, and I don't know. And so we kind of toss it around a little bit longer than we should. So encourages a quick emotional response. This is one that we're going to get into. How are we doing on time, Heather? We doing okay? You're supposed to keep me aware of the time constraints. What do we go till? 3? Oh, I got a long time to talk. Okay. So encourages quick emotional response. This is one that I'm going to show you an example of that actually happened in this court, and it's a bad example. I mean, it's awful. It's a good example, but it's an awful experience that the user would go through. Saying, "You've got to do this now." And if I receive that email, what the world? This is nuts. So respond to a question that you never had. Here's another example, right? Microsoft calls you or something like that, and we have a problem with your account. Here's what you got to do to fix it, type of thing. Okay, so let's go through these in a little more detail. Trust. Exploit your trust and curiosity. Contains an attachment of pictures, right? Could be pictures, it could be something else. So can somebody give me an example of what a trust social engineering email would look like? Anybody? I'll give you a piece of candy if you answer. From your mom. Yeah, who said that? Della? I'm sorry, Della. So, yeah. So if my mom sends me an email, you bet. Flags are going to go up right and left, and I'm going to call her. I don't care if it has a link or attachment. She's been compromised so many times. So, yeah. So that's a trust email, though, right? So another example is, what if you don't know this person, but they seem to know you? What if you get an email from, let's say that you really, really like, kayaking down rapids, right? You really like that rapid stuff. So you get an email from somebody saying, "Hey, remember when we went on that trip a couple of years ago in that rapids? I just found the pictures. Here they are. We had such a great time. Look forward to catching up with you." And there's an attachment. What do you do with that? You say, "Oh, man, I don't know. I remember going on a trip, but I don't know this person." But that's really kind of tricky, right? It's really kind of tricking you into clicking on that link. Who would click on that link? Because you're sitting in this class, you say, no, I'm not going to click on that link. It's awful. A lot of us would, though, right? So it's really piquing that curiosity, what am I going to do? So I know of a person, a judge that loves whitewater rafting, that would click on that link like that, right? And a lot of us would. I mean, we're not raising our hands now because you're in the cybersecurity class, but if you received an email like that, your curiosity would be just off the charts to see what type of pictures you have, right? So you got to think about that. Create a compelling story to make you spend money somehow. This is the guy in the prison, right? So again, your friend's stuck in a prison in this country. He's got billions of dollars. That one's so old, I'm surprised anybody still gets hooked on it, but they do. My mom hasn't been hooked on that one yet. Okay. Ask you to donate to a charitable fundraiser or some other event, so with a link. So the point being in here, you've got, okay, so you got link, attachments, link, link. All of that stuff we got to be aware of, right? If it was just text, would we really worry about it? Not so much. But when it contains a link or an attachment, that's what you got to worry about. Okay, so here's where it gets a little tricky. We've got an example here, and I wish you could really see this. I know you can't. But basically what we've got, what we have here is we've got an email from FedEx, right? It says there's a problem with your let's see. Your package has been successfully delivered. Click here. It's got a link on it, some other things. But there's a few things odd about it. And the first thing we want to look at is the domain itself. And if you can't see that, the domain says mail delivery at packagesdeliveries.com. Would FedEx really have a domain called packagesdeliveries.com? Or would it be FedEx? So right off the bat, you're thinking, something's a little fishy here. It's got a link in it, so I know I'm not going to click on that link right away. And then you start looking at the domain. Really think about that. Stop. When you get an email like this, listen to that little guy in your head. It's telling you to stop. It's telling you to do the right thing. You know what the right thing is to do. You just got to do it, right? So let's review a little bit more here. So the domain is screwed up. That should be a first kicker. It was sent on February 25th, 2018. Okay? But in the subject, it has a date of, I can't even read that. I should have brought my glasses. Can anybody see the date? Of 5/31/2017. That's the date in the subject. So when it was delivered and when it actually said it was supposed to be delivered is completely wrong, almost a year off. So right off the bat, you're thinking, okay, this is no good, right? So what's the next step you take, given that there's a link in it? What's the very next step? Delete. You can, yes, but just to make absolutely sure this is a fake. Hover. You got it. Hover before you click. So when you hover, it goes to some archaic address. I can't even see that to read it. So it goes to some archaic address that you know this is bogus. This is total garbage. When you hover before you click and you see that domain is this long and it has nothing to do with FedEx, you know 100% it is garbage. Never, ever click on a link. I don't care if it's from me, Berlin, Judge Gertler, Kip, anybody. If you receive an email that contains a link and you don't hover before you click, I'm going to be mad. Don't do that. Always hover. The hovering will tell you exactly the location it's going to go to. Okay, that is your real trigger. Okay? As an extra bonus, there's a hidden symbol inside FedEx. Who knows what it is? An arrow. Who said arrow? Excellent, Kathy, yay! Right there. You'll never look at FedEx again without seeing that arrow. Interesting fact. Okay, so here's another example. Here's another example from Linda Legato. The domain, look at the domain itself. It's windsor-csd.org. And the subject is help desk. Well, Okay, so if you get this email, what are you going to think about it? Do I know a link? Now, let's put yourselves back in your offices, okay? You know who the help desk is. It's me, John, Heather, Brian, Jim. That's the help desk, right? So would we send out a message called help desk? No, we wouldn't. So right off the bat, you're thinking, this is garbage. So you know right away this is garbage simply because of the subject line of help desk. But you can go further on. Look at the domain. Would I or my team send out something from windsor-csd.org? No, we wouldn't do that. This email also has a little bit of kind of urgent nature to it. It says, you got to click this link or your account's going to be deactivated. So it's kind of praying for you to say, or thinking, pushing you to say, okay, this is urgent. Oh man, I don't want to lose all my email. I'm going to click, right? The next thing you do is you hover, and it's going to some awful URL that has nothing to do with help desk or anything else. So here, this one looks pretty convincing, right? If you can see that, it says up here, it's from a user on the court's domain. Okay, passed number 1 test, right? It's from the court's domain. That's accurate. Okay, you got a link. That's a little odd. It's asking you to click on this link, and I don't know about that. So one flag's going up, and then you scroll further down, and it says Courts Corporation. What? We're not a corporation, right? So what is this thing? Who knows what this thing is, right? So once you click on the link, or once you hover, sorry Della, once you hover on the link, then it will tell you for sure that it's garbage, right? So what's the key again? You hover on that link. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you leave here with any bit of advice and you retain that 20%, remember, hover before you click. It's so very important. I don't care who it's from, hover before you click. If it doesn't jive, forward it on to me or my team, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll concur or say, no, this is garbage. Most of the time, we're just going to say garbage if you don't know the person. And that's another thought process, right? We're kind of being trained in today's world. If we get an email, we got to take action. We're responsive. We're the courts. We want to reach out to people. We want to be progressive. We want to be responsive. That's our nature, right? Especially in the front desk area. You get emails from all sorts of people with all sorts of domain names. So you can't really judge it by who's sending you the email. So there's other factors you got to look at. But the first thing you got to do is think about this. Okay, is this really legitimate? Do I really need to take action on this? Is this something that's extremely important or not? If that little guy in your head is still spinning and telling you no, 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 don't do it. Take the time. Think about it. Worst case, send it to us. We're more than happy to review that for you. Get a second set of eyes. Okay? If anything, if you really think this is legitimate, but you're still concerned about it, send it to us. If we have a concern, we forward it to a safe machine. On that safe machine, we then open it. If it blows up that safe machine, fine. It blows up the safe machine. But at least we have an understanding on what's happening. Is that me that coughed? Yeah.
We actually got one forwarded to us over the holidays that came from an attorney's office in Phoenix. And all the information in the email looked exactly right phone number, all this other stuff with a link suggesting that we click on it so we can send them information about a case and whatnot. And the user sent it to us, of course, and said, hey, this doesn't look right. And sure enough, the email address in the header didn't match the office of the attorney. And if you just called the attorney's office and it was the right number, it was the same attorney, they were, of course, gone for the holidays.
Right, right.
Basically just called up and said, hey, did you send this email? Do you actually need information from us? And I never got a call back, so I assume it was.
Excellent. That's my guys. That's what we do, right? That's a perfect example of what we do, and we try to do every single time. If nothing else, again, it gives you another fresh perspective on the email, because as soon as you have that concern and you have that flag pop up, then it's up to us. We're automatically going to have the flag. We're going to, oh, this is not good. We're going to be wary of it. So we're going to try and direct you the right way. So it turns out that the person that actually created this slideshow, Stuart, he actually clicked on the link, or once he hovered on it, it went to XYZ domain. which actually took him to a really authentic looking survey by the AOC. Isn't that cool? So you think, okay, well, there's the logo. So let's say you didn't hover. Let me go back. So let's say you didn't hover, you just clicked on that, everything looks good, and the next thing you see is that pop up. Okay, well, it's from the AOC, obviously, because there's the seal. It looks pretty official, but they're asking me for my user credentials to a survey, right? So why in the world? I'm already logged in. It's supposed to be an anonymous survey, so why in the world are they asking me for my credentials? Do you think that was fake? Yep, it was. It absolutely was. What they're doing there is trying to email or harvest your credentials. Once they do that, they log into your application, your Office 365 account remotely, and then they have access to all of your contacts. So then at that point, once they have access to all of my contacts, they're going to send the same email out to every one of you from me. So you're going to get an email from me with that information. So now that it's from me, are you more likely to click on it? Probably will, right? Because you know who I am, you recognize the name, so on and so forth. So that's really a slick way of doing it. But you got to stop and ask yourself, okay, this doesn't feel right. It's just not, screw it, I'm not going to put my credentials in. That's the response I want you to give, okay? If a website's asking for your username and password, don't put it in. Really think about what you're doing. And that's kind of tricky because in today's world, Office 365 does require you to enter your password in on occasion. We have to change our password every 90 days, and we have that, the big issue with changing your password. Now this doesn't sync up, and you got to enter your credentials in again, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of a tricky world we live in. But a lot of people have fallen for this one, and they shouldn't have. If you're asked to put in your credentials for a survey, nope, it's not right. So here's another example. Again, my whole presentation was focused on you having the ability to see that and tell me what you see. So we're winging through this. So the email is from somebody we know, obviously from the state, right? So they got the little Arizona State flag in the background there. I know this person, but I don't remember her being in IT management. Their credentials down here say that she's in some sort of court program unit. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, what? First, why is she sending me an assessment? I have nothing to do with her. So what can I be assessing her on, or she assessing me on? Doesn't make sense. And the subject is, please view the attached document for information. So, IT management for your information, does she need my assistance or not? And then again, managed service agreement. So you got managed service agreement, but the attachment calls assessment.pdf.pdf. What's wrong with that? Does that look normal? Can you guys see that? The file name is actually assessment.pdf.pdf. That's wacky. So you got a bunch of things going at you right here, right off the bat, that's telling you this doesn't seem right. So you got to be careful of that. So this is a real scam. Who remembers, about a year ago, we had that notice from the AOC saying, okay, folks, we got compromised. Everybody's forcing their password change now. You remember that? So what it really boiled down to is one person at the AOC, their email address was compromised. Their account was compromised, either from a social engineering attack or she used the same password on other sites that was compromised. Okay? So think about that just for a second. Oh, geez, am I using the same password for my Quartz account that I am for my Staples account or my Hotmail account or whatever it may be? Chances are pretty good you are. If that's the case, please don't. Change that. Because if one account's compromised, you can consider all of your accounts are going to be compromised. Okay? So let's get back to this example. Again, this is a real-life example. A user account was hacked, most likely from a personal account with the same password or perhaps phished, and then the following email was shared to all contacts. So it's basically so-and-so has shared a document with you, and that document is from OneDrive. Everything looks hokey-dokey so far. Okay? So we kind of go through this, and whoa, 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 right off the bat, you're thinking, well, here's a link attachment. Doesn't look right. So just that one clue in itself, that one clue, hover before you click, would stop you from moving forward. But a lot of people did. They went ahead and moved forward. They clicked on that link without hovering, and then at that point, everybody in her Exchange account or her contact list was sent an email to enter in your contacts or enter in your credentials. So the key to defending yourself against this attack is not asking, do I recognize the sender's name? But rather, does it make sense for the sender to be asking me to take this action? Okay, stop and think. What is the worst thing that could happen if I don't click on this link? Well, just think about it. It's in an email, so you're not being asked for life-saving information, right? So think about it. Stop. Check. Hover on that link, right? Hover. Think about it. If everything looks real good, but you still got that guy in the back, let it set for a day or send it to us. If you let it set for a day, then your neighbor's going to get blamed for clicking on the link, not you. Urgent action. Explain there's a problem that requires you to verify information by clicking on the link. Okay? Notifies that you're a winner. How many people have won a contest that they've never entered? Nobody should, right? Right? Everybody's got that email, but you're not going to win a contest you've never entered. So don't click on that guy. Okay? Ask for help. Again, that's kind of, oh man, I'm really in a bad, tight spot. I need some help. Can you click on this link to help me out here? Give me some money, something like that. Spoofing the user into thinking they're dealing with a specific company. So in today's world, you've got all these different companies that we deal with, that we're all familiar with. Okay, how easy is it to capture that logo and put on an email? Mucho easy, right? You don't have to be in IT. You just have to basically know how to turn on a computer to capture a logo and put it on an email. It's not ethical, legal, or anything else, but you can do it, and it's easy to do. And they're trying to trick you into clicking on their contact or their link or open their attachment. It's what it's about, tricking. Emotional response plants a seed in your mind about nefarious motives or others. They can step in and be the hero. Okay, it can be used as extortioners who want to manipulate the information and then treat you with disclosure. So think about that just for a second. And artificial intelligence, how that plays in. So let me show you an example of a real-life email that people in the courts have received. This is the one I was talking about earlier. This is a bad one. So basically what it's saying is the subject contains the person's password. And the subject and the password are absolutely correct. So if you get an email with your password that you use in the court system or on your personal accounts in the subject line, is that going to get your attention? Real quick, right? It should. And this actually happened to 2 people in the courts. 2. They got this email from this very person, this exact same email. It's telling them, hey man, you're a weird, freaky dude. I've been watching where you're going. Yes, I've got a hand. I was right in the middle of oh, that was wonderful. I was right in the middle of, okay, go ahead, Sonia.
I got that last night.
The same one?
Yes.
Did you click on the link?
No.
Did you pay the $1,000 in Bitcoin? Excellent. So yeah, it's going around, right? So basically they're saying, we've been watching you, we know what you're up to, and we've got all your contact information, we've got all your user credentials. Do they? Yeah. They put it in the subject line. My password is in the subject line. Yeah, so you tend to believe what they're saying, right? So if you don't pay them $1,000, they're going to send this screenshot of you to your whole contacts. So it's just going to embarrass the heck out of you. So it's really playing on your emotions. Oh, gee, What am I going to do? This is crazy. I can't let all these people do this. And what's the possibility that they not only show, they send this email out, but what's the possibility that they could superimpose your face onto some other subject and contain that in an email? So it looks like you. Is that possible? That something could be photoshopped and you look like, the photo looks like something that didn't actually happen? Certainly it's possible, right? With artificial intelligence, you think they can capture your picture off your Facebook account or social media account and then take that information and just automatically superimpose it onto something else? Sure they can, and send that out in a mass email. This is fake. But how in the world did they get your password? That's crazy, right? So you got to think about that. So major concern was, has the court's network been compromised? Has your court account been compromised? Immediately, we changed the court password on these users. But chances are very likely that the user's Hotmail account or Outlook account or Staples account was compromised and they use the same password as they do for the courts. Okay, so, or that's just one of the passwords I use. It was compromised, the email was sent. Okay? Response to a question or issue you never had, sometimes related to common problems with your computers. So this is a good example. My mom gets this one. This is one of my mom's favorites. Microsoft calls her all the time asking, hey, we found a problem with your computer. You need to let us on so we can solve it, right? So she uses foul language that she never used to use. She hangs up on them. And then she calls me. Kyle, Microsoft's calling me again. Microsoft will not call you, right? They make a lot of money on help desk calls. So you're lucky to speak to a Microsoft person when you call them, okay? So they're not going to reach out to you. No legitimate company is going to find a problem on your computer and call you to solve the problem. They're really going to try and do that, though. I mean, chances of these hackers, they'll say, hey, we found a problem with your computer. You're using a lot of bandwidth, blah, blah, blah. You're sending out error signals. We can fix that. All we need is your credit card information, or can we just remote in? I'm going to send you a link real quick. Click on that link, and then I'll remote into your computer. I'll get you fixed up. Trust me. Got to be careful. Okay. So here's another example. This is another real-life example of let me see here what we got. Okay, so this one came into Stuart Bruner, and he's thinking, okay, my mail failed to sync. This is an example of, sending you help without you asking for it. This email came into Stuart saying, hey, your email account screwed up. Contact us, click on this link, and we'll fix you up. The head office. What organization sends out an email signed head office, right? So that's screwy right off the bat. And there's a link, and you got links, and then you see, oh, that's not going. Where is that going? That's going to Central African Republic. Wow, if you need help desk support from Central African Republic, you got bigger problems. Okay, so here's another one. Right off the bat, it tells you this is alarming. So you can't read that, but the attachment says malware right off the bat. So your email, your hardware, your software system said, hey, there's a problem with this. Don't open it. This is screwed up. It's telling you right there it's got malware in it. Okay? So listen to that warning. You got to be careful of stuff like that. And it's very generic. Dear sir, here's your new order. Well, if it was so important for me to open, wouldn't they know my name? And it's from accounts, right? Malware. It's crazy stuff. So here's another example. Again, I wish you could see these so you could see exactly what I'm saying. So this email comes in, and it's from a Renee Senti at highspeed.ch. I don't know a Renee Senti, but I'm looking through the email. It's got a link. We know that we should already be on alert for the link, right? Did you see that? I almost did that without even looking right at the link. Did you notice that? Did anybody notice that? That's like shooting from the hip. So there's the link. We've got to be careful of that. But then it goes back and signs the email an Amy Dyer. So the person that sent me the email isn't the same person that signed the email. Red flags galore. So these are little bitty tips that you've got to think about, okay? I think I already went through all that. So this is an example of a legitimate email from the AOC support desk. We get those every Tuesday. Reminder to leave your PCs on, blah, blah, blah. And just so you know, it comes from the Remedy 4 system. It's got the logo down at the bottom. It's signed by AOC. So it does have some good stuff on there. You click on that, and it's going to go to the right link. So everything's legitimate about that one. Okay? I told Stuart I would leave that one in. So let's talk about resistance techniques. What can we do to spot? We've already seen what they are like, okay? But let's think about what we can do to spot these things and just get rid of them. Figure out what they are. First thing, didn't mean to do that. Slow down, right? So when the message conveys a strong sense of urgency, that's a warning. You got to stop. Think about it. Am I going to save lives if I click on this link right away? Probably not. So think about it, okay? Research the facts. Be suspicious of any unsolicited message. Again, be very cautious. Slow down. Look at the email. Look at all. That one email, I think, is a perfect example. It looked from FedEx, remember? It looked very, very legitimate. Everything looked really good. It had the logo on it. But the only key that we could find besides hovering was the date. So you had to see when it was sent, and there was a date within the body of it. Didn't match up. So those small, small details you've got to now pick out, okay? Be very careful of that. Reject requests for help or offers. Again, companies do not, I'm losing people by the droves. Kathy. So legitimate companies are not going to be contacting you, right? You're going to contact them for assistance. They're not going to reach out to you and say, your PC is screwed up, let me control it and fix it. Don't let the link control where you land. If it's from FedEx, then go to FedEx.com. Okay, if that hover over doesn't quite work for you, doesn't quite register, don't click on it, go to FedEx.com and see if you can find it that way. Again, no email email hijacking is rampant. Okay, so the point being with this one, know that a bad email can come from anybody. It can come from me. It's going to come from the people that are high profile. They want to try and get you to click on that link as quick as they possibly can. So again, they're going to target the administrators, the department heads, the supervisors, the judges. They're going to try and convince you that that's who's sending you the email. Once those accounts are compromised, that's where you're going to get those emails from. Not saying you won't get them from anybody else that you know, just be very wary of those. Be wary of any attachment or link. We've talked about that. An email is okay to open, but you're one step away from disaster. If it's got a link on it or an attachment, be very, very cautious. Recap, technology-related direction. How are we doing on time, Heather? You should be warning me. 30 minutes, okay. Okay, so directions or authority, help desk communications. That's a typical one. We see that a lot. The subject is help desk. Okay, so I guess that's okay, but you, again, think about who the help desk is for Mojave County. You know who we are locally, and you know the AOC. You're going to be getting an email from the AOC or from us, not from some Joe Schmo saying help desk, click here and we're going to help you out. Okay? Promises of free money, like that's going to happen. Fear of missing out of something important, like a missed package or something like that, so it's going to prey on you. Urgent nature, right? And threaten to expose the site you visit. So 6 steps here. Look at the sender's name and email address. Check the other recipients' names. Think about the subject. Is it consistent with the content? A lot of times the subject doesn't match exactly what's going on with the form letter that they've created in the body of the email. Scrutinize the sending time, as we saw with the FedEx email. Hover over the link before you click. And beware of urgent, startling, or upsetting content. Okay? Those are the things I really want you to focus on. Do not open attachments or following links, play buttons and emails from people or organizations you don't recognize, even if the message is enticing. So that's kind of the kayaking down the Colorado River content, right? So we want to be very careful of that. Only visit websites that you have business reason for visiting. Now, why would you do this? For obvious reasons, right? We want to make sure that you're working on business products. But there's another reason, and my emails in the past have kind of pointed this out. We have a very limited amount of bandwidth. And when we see people hitting YouTube or watching cat videos or whatever it may be, those videos are impacting our core business. We're seeing this time and time again. Our utilization spikes up to 80, 90%, sometimes 100% because one person is watching a cat video. So our choice is obvious. We've tried the approach to contact that user, please stop the cat videos. We've got other people trying to do work. That didn't really work. So we're sending it out to everyone. Hey, I don't know what the problem is, but here's the list, here's your utilization, deal with it. Get the people off the cat videos. That didn't really work either. So our next step is to try and segregate the network. We're going to have an internet bandwidth, internet link, and we're going to have a core systems link. The real challenge is trying to balance that. How much bandwidth do we apply to the core systems and how much bandwidth do we apply to the internet? So the cat video people are only going to start affecting email, okay? But that's going to be very costly. So in order for everyone to watch cat videos, we're going to be paying like close to $18,000, $20,000 per year. That's kind of the direction we're going down. And it's kind of odd that, you know, I'm looking at these reports, I can see what's being activated or what's being hit, and when I send out that email, our utilization goes from 80% down to 30%. Please get off the YouTube videos, please get off the cat videos, blah, blah, blah. Boom, drops down. People are now doing work in Aztec and Ajax again. So there's multiple reasons that visit websites for business-related reasons only. So bandwidth is kind of like money, right? You never have enough. If we continue to upgrade our bandwidth connection or bandwidth speed capacity, it's fine. We're just going to keep putting money into it, but we're going to continue to starve ourselves because it's going to continue to watch those cat videos and that music and so on and so forth. Okay? I kind of deviated there just a bit. Maybe I should go back to making spaghetti. But that's kind of one of my issues. Update mobile applications from the App Store only. So if you're downloading an application onto your phone, make sure you just go to the App Store, right? Play Store. Don't download it from other sources. Keep your PCs powered on Tuesday nights to allow it to receive updates. If you don't do that, then you start getting updates throughout the day, impacting those core systems as well. And don't ignore browser or antivirus's warnings. So if you go to this site and you have this pop-up saying, whoa, you're really close to danger here, you better back up, get away from this site, this is not good. You see those warnings, get away. Don't say, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm good, I've been here before. Okay, and again, hover before you hover over the link before you click. That's so very important. That's your last key, okay? And that's a very important one. Make sure all that works. I've got a few more slides here that I want to talk a little bit about personal safety. Okay, we've talked about how to be aware of these phishing attacks and social media and all of that stuff, or social engineering. But we want to dig a little bit deeper into how to protect yourself, okay, in the world we live in today. So change your passwords regularly. That's kind of an obvious one. We're forcing that with the courts. But I strongly suggest that you do this with your other sites. I know it's a pain in the rear, but change those passwords regularly. And do not use the same password for all of your sites, okay? Mix it up. Use completely different passwords. Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the next one. Okay? Use different passwords for different sites. Destroy all personal information before throwing it in the trash. We still have dumpster divers out there, so be careful of that. Burn that stuff. Be cautious of fake keypads and scanners at the gas pump specifically, right? Is that the only place we have to concern ourselves? No. They're putting them right there at the point and pay at Safeway and stuff, right? So we want to be careful of that. What's the trigger you want to look for at gas pumps, though? Anybody? What's that? It's loose, right? The scanning could be loose. What else? Somebody? Nobody? Keypad's loose. Yep. So there's something amiss with that device. But you also now, gas stations are putting seals, little stickers around the front cover of the gas pump themselves. It takes a bad guy, 10 minutes to open that up or less. I don't even know what the statistic is anymore, how fast they can do it. But they pop that front cover off. They put the skimmer on the inside now. They no longer put them on the outside. So they pop it open, put them on the inside, so you can wiggle that thing all you want. It's not going to work, right? So you're not going to see any difference. It's because it's on the inside. But you want to look around the seal of that gas pump and make sure that little sticky hasn't been cut or removed. Okay? If it has, go somewhere else. Because scammers are here. We saw it in the paper the other day, right? How many gas stations they hit? 10, 15, something like that here in Kingman. Be careful of what you post on social media. Perfect example of this. I use this scenario every time I teach a JNEO class, and I love this scenario. So a teacher who works for a school district, obviously, she went on vacation with her husband. They were on a beach in somewhere, drinking a beer at night, fully clothed. Everything was good to go. They're above 21, so the beer's okay. She posted a picture of her sitting on the beach with a beer. Everything's good to go, right? Until she got back to the office. So the office looked at that picture, so did her students. Nothing was wrong with it. It's what adults do, right? How do you think the school responded to that? They fired her. Who said that? Yeah, absolutely, they fired her, right? Why would they fire her for that? Well, she put it on social media. She's a role model for the school district. She's a role model for the kids. She sets an example, just like the courts, just like you folks. 24 hours a day. Are you an employee of the courts, just doing 8 and 5? No, you're not. You're an employee of the courts 24/7. And when you start posting things and activities on your social media accounts that doesn't really go with the logic or the ethics of the courts, then you could be called on it. So you want to be very careful of that. Safeguard your credit card and banking information. Duh. That's a no-brainer, right? Who has more than 3 credit cards in their wallets right now? The last securities summit that I was at, if you have more than 3 credit cards in your wallet, I want to say somewhere in 80 to 90% probability that at least one has been compromised already. It's just, and the reason that it hasn't been, who checks their credits all the time? Yeah. I mean, we have alerts set up on our phones, right? Anything that hits your accounts, whether it's your credit cards or your checking account or say whatever it may be, you get an alert right away, right? Everybody does that. And if you don't, you should. But at this seminar, this guy was saying so many credit cards are stolen that have now been compromised that the market's completely flooded. So it's supply and demand. So now they're looking for credit cards that have really good credit on it. They're really, the consumer of those stolen credit cards are being picky on what they buy. So not all of them have been used. Even though they've been compromised, they're waiting at the supermarket for some bad guy to buy them and use them, but they're just waiting there, okay? So you've got to stay on that stuff. Set up trust levels with companies you deal with. This is something I repeat every time I teach this class. Who can tell me what I mean by setting up trust levels? You've all been in my class before. Nobody can tell me what a trust level is. So basically oh yeah, Emily! Yay!
Trust level is you don't put your bank account on, say, paying this other
your banking account that allows that to, so you're not putting banking stuff on every bill that you pay. You pay through your secure site of your bank and use that bill pay to pay all the other.
Right. Everybody understand? Could everybody hear that? So basically that's exactly what I'm talking about. So you don't want to have the same level of trust with your Staples.com account as you do with your banks, right? So you want to try and set up these payment methods. Don't store payment methods on Staples. And I'm picking on Staples. I should pick on Target, right? They were hacked. So don't put your payment method on Target.com and your account there. Use a payment method from Chase to pay Target, because you trust Chase more than you do Target. They could be hacked and compromised much easier than Chase. Okay, so if you set up a direct link into your checking account from Target, your checking account could be hacked right away. Set up alerts on your accounts. Check your credit score with annualcreditreporting.com. Call back companies that you want to deal with. Okay. So if you get this unprompted warning from this company saying, hey, you owe this much money, you got to do this, blah, 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 and you're thinking, oh, heck with you, but you're still kind of concerned about it, you call them back and then you deal with it. Be careful of setting up payment methods on online stores. We've talked about that. Do not link payment methods directly to your checking account. Do not use your debit card for online purchases. Use credit cards. Why is that? Anybody? Yeah, exactly. So if you buy something with your credit card and your credit card's compromised, or if your credit card's compromised and a purchase is made, you simply call the credit agency, say, hey, this wasn't me. It never comes out of your account. They reimburse your credit, and then they research it. So you're not impacted by that charge until they prove that it was you or it wasn't you. With your checking account, it takes a few days to get that money back. All right? Excuse me. So if your checking account was compromised, your money's already gone. Now you have to fight to get that money back. And it could take a couple days. Use caution when clicking on websites from search results. So you want to make sure you know what you're clicking on again. If they have chase.com, chase.org, Craigslist is a good one. Craigslist.org is the right one. You go to Craigslist.com, your computer blows up. Don't try it. Trust me. Okay? Do not pick up thumb drives off the street and use it. Why do we want to do that? Why would we avoid that? It's called thumb drive planning. And again, basically what they're trying to do is get a piece of software on your machine. So if you walk down the street, and this has happened in businesses, these bad guys have put these thumb drives outside on the street or outside businesses they want to compromise in various locations, on the ground, out in the hallway, blah, blah, blah. People pick them up and say, wow, I wonder what this is. Let me see. Plug it in. As soon as they plug it in, they're infected, right? Or that password is now collected. So you don't want to do that. If you see a thumb drive on the floor, what do you do? What do you do, John? Throw it. Just throw it down? You want to step on it first, right? And then you want to spit on it. And then you want to crush it. Yes, Ann? Excellent. Do you know that we've had an individual come to us and say, I just found this thumb drive. I put it in, but I can't see what's on it. Can you tell me what's on it? I kid you not. No, I can't. And I slapped it out of his hand, and I spit on it and stepped on it. No, I really didn't do that. Do not place personal or work data on your thumb drive. This is an example that I share with you folks all the time, and I really love this example. When we first started talking about e-filing years ago, I was sitting on a commission for technology at the state of Arizona, and I was sitting right next to Carl Heckert. He's the CIO of the AOC. And a judge got up, and he was kind of promoting e-filing. How wonderful it is. This is amazing. So he gets up there, and he pulls his keys out of his pocket and says, I've got all my cases right here. This is awesome. And so I picked the CIO off the ground, set him back in his chair. He kind of passed out, right? So when you take all that in for that, was supposed to be a joke. Man, that went over bad. Tough crowd. What?
So it's your fault
Man, we're recording this, Berlin. We got to rewind that. No. Okay. So, bad thing. Don't put personal data on your thumb drive, right? If you lose data, if you do happen to take data home and you lose it, your car was broken into and all the files were stolen, or you have it on your thumb drive, or whatever it may be, there is an entire procedure that you must follow. We've got at least, well, I think 2 or 3 procedures you must follow. We've got the AO 2008-68. We also have recently modified our local policy to go along with that. And it outlines clearly who has to be notified, in what order, how quickly. And then from that point, you have to notify everyone that their data was potentially compromised if your data is lost or your phone's lost. So you got to be very careful with that. That concludes the 48 slides. I see a few people nodding off, so we can wake up. We're just about done with it. Any questions that I can answer for you? Yes?
I have a question, and maybe you can help me understand, but when I have legitimate software or a printer or something installed, your techs have to get permission, administrative permission from the AOC. Otherwise, it will not go on. How come this other stuff goes on so easy?
Well, that's a great question. The question was, you know, in order for me to install legitimate software, we have to contact me, and we have to sign in blood, and we have to get approval, and just a bunch of things for that software to go on. How does this other software get on so quickly? And the answer is the programming behind it. The programming behind it doesn't care about the logistics of how it goes on or what goes on. It just tries to dig itself in there and remain resident. It's not a permanent piece of software. Or it could be right in memory. Opens up in memory, gets what it needs, the next time you reboot, it's gone, but it's already got the information it needs. So it doesn't physically install on your machine. Some of them. Copy 9 installs on your phone immediately, and you are compromised, you don't even know it. That just takes 2 minutes to do that. So it depends on the software, but we have got a pretty good fail-safe system in place that it prevents that type of activity from happening. But it still can go into memory and get what it needs without physically installing on the device itself. Okay, so that's a great point. But it can still happen. Okay. Any more questions? Yes?
So you know when you get an email and it has an attachment, and then it has that little gray preview box next to it, it says click here to see if this is safe or something like that. Can you click on the preview box?
The preview box, I don't know that I've seen that. Have you guys seen that? So it just shows up a little image of what the, I don't know.
One of your examples had a
Did it? So it's just an image of what's going to...
It's just a little gray box and it says preview. And it's right next to the...
If you don't click on it, it's not going to install anything. But I'm concerned about the preview. I don't know. I think I would still hover first. Hover where it's going to go. If it's an attachment itself, tell me if you see it. I'm just going to keep scrolling through this. I don't know. I don't think I would click on that button.
I can't really see that far away, just a little bit of gray.
Oh, no, that says message.
Oh. But it kind of looks like that. It has a box just like that that's gray that says preview.
No. I think I would avoid that. I think if I were to guess, I think it'd be okay, but I don't know that I would risk it. Especially if it's from somebody you don't really understand, it doesn't make sense. Check your other variables that we've talked about first. If everything makes sense, you're still worried about it, send it to us, we'll take a look at it. Send it at Safe PC. A lot of the courts already have these Safe PCs in your back offices that these generic emails go to. Run it through that area first. That'll give you an idea. Okay? Any more questions? All right. Very good. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Friday.